Arsenal had to get involved, Martin, with Chelsea because they were 2 down at Stamford Bridge at the weekend. It ends up 2-2. Did this performance and result tell us more about Arsenal or Chelsea?
A bit of both, I think. I think that Arsenal showed some resilience, obviously helped by Raya, the goalkeeper for Chelsea, handing the game back to them when it's, they're 2-0, they're coasting in a game, they're 2-0 up, and you think ball's played back to you, you've got to... I'm sorry, you're going to have to stick the ball up the pitch. You're really going to have to do this.
Sanchez, you mean? Sanchez,
I apologise. Sanchez.
Yeah.
Sanchez. And going to have to put the ball up the pitch at this time. And I do have concerns. Listen, talking about this playing out from the back, and I know that it's hip and it's avant-garde. It's all of these particular things. I think most teams can't do it, to tell you the truth. And I often wonder. You see, if you have played it out of the back and you've lost a goal, and it's a really important goal, if the manager has encouraged you to do this, then it's very difficult for the manager to come in at the end of the game and say you should have put the ball up the pitch. Up the pitch.
Right.
Now, I know that's going to happen in this year. I'm going to be accused of being some sort of, superannuated Luddite or something like this here. But you've got to get you've got to play the game. You've got to know where there's danger there. I'm on my wrong foot. I'm just going to have to put the ball up the pitch. If he does do that there, and then there's a battle for it about, on the halfway line, there's a fairly decent chance that you'll be able to get your players back round again and be able to defend the last 10 or 15 minutes in the game. That was Chelsea found themselves 2-0 in front and did very, very well. Very well
Martin,
indeed.
In your experience as a manager, when you tell a team to play in a certain way and set them up, is it a directive? Do you believe it's a directive in modern football? And it's supposition that, because surely players have got to select what's the best thing to do at that moment in time in the game. The preference is to play out from the back, but surely common sense comes into play. And do you believe that modern day footballers in the Premier League that are being told to play out from the back are told, irrespective of the consequences of what you do, play out from the back? Surely the right decision is, if it's on, do it. If it's not, do something different.
You're absolutely right. You don't even have to be a football manager to say that. Absolutely, Sam. I'm in total agreement with that.
So wouldn't the manager then... So my question would be then, do you believe that the modern day manager is giving it as a directive? Because the manager would still have the right to say to the goalkeeper, well, I want you to play out from the back, but I want you to have the wherewithal to be able to make the right decision at the right time. So it still puts him in a territory of saying to him, why did you do that? I know I want you playing out from the back, but when it's right to do.
Yeah, well, it's happening so often. And you would think that somebody would learn from it. If I was managing now, the one thing that, if for instance the goalkeeper is thinking about playing out, you've got to press up.
But do you think it's likely to be a directive, or do you think it's the age-old situation where players sometimes are just proles that are programmed to do a certain thing and don't have the propensity to think for themselves?
Well, I often wondered about what goes through the thoughts of goalkeepers' heads. Anyway, I must admit, but that was supposed to be a joke. But anyway,
no, you're not wrong.
No, I take your point, but a
situation like that should never arise, should it, man?
It shouldn't
to be
arise.
Honest,
it shouldn't.
Top pro like Sanchez. Either get it up the field, as you say, where it's a safe-ish area, like in the halfway line, or put it in Rosette. And there was no need for Rosette because he wasn't under any pressure.
Fine, but learn from it if that's the case. And I think this is the point that Simon's making: is that the manager's job? The manager must be saying to continue to play out from the back. But surely to heavens, a goalkeeper or a player must see the danger, must sense the danger, and think, listen, do you know what? I'll clear it. I'll clear my lines here. It seems as if it's an ugly type of play, but I'll clear my lines here, and we're still in the game, and we're still 2-0 in front in the match.
Yeah, not bad finish, but Declan, having said
that, it was a terrific finish, I must admit. But he's given that opportunity. He should never have been given the opportunity in the first place.
And where are you about the boy at the other end then, Raya?
That's
this constant joust with Ramsdale.
I think the manager has left that in a really difficult position for the goalkeeper, in the sense that he stepped in there in front of Ramsdale. He's whatever you say about it, the manager said that he could change goalkeepers when he felt like it. In fact, he said twice last year he thought about doing this year, but he didn't have the courage to do it. Now, I'm all on for changing a goalkeeper if he's thrown 3 in the first half or something like this here, and absolutely. But now the goalkeeper hasn't changed in the number of games, and it does put pressure on the goalkeeper, the incumbent goalkeeper at this minute, because he's now in a position where he's keeping a really decent goalkeeper out who was dropped for apparently no reason. My point is this here: if you're the manager, I think you'll have to come out and say you have a number one goalkeeper. This is it. He's my number one goalkeeper. I'm sorry. You'll just have to sit out. You didn't do anything wrong, but I actually think this boy's a better goalkeeper.
Isn't it? Because I don't think, in fairness to Arteta, he said change for change's sake. I think he talked about the ability to be able to change goalkeepers when the necessity to do so, where there was a particular situation where one goalkeeper might have been better suited to a circumstance than another. And it's an interesting phenomenon with goalkeepers, because we've now moved goalkeepers into the space where I think they should have been for a long time. And when you and I have spoken about Peter Shilton being an integral part of the reasons why Nottingham Forest achieved some of the things that they achieved. And over the years, goalkeepers have become more pivotal in their thinking to the managers. But it's the only position on the pitch where there doesn't seem to be a priced-in idea that you can have two for that position. If you're Manchester City, you need two strikers to be able to go up top. You need two wing-backs, you need two full-backs, you need two centre-backs, you need two in every position. But the only position that you don't need two of, because it's a problem, is a goalkeeper. Yeah,
but if your goalkeeper's doing really well for you, why would you want to change him? You've just mentioned there that Arteta said that it was certain instances. What instance? I mentioned an instance there where if a goalkeeper is thrown 3 in, you're 3-0 down at half time, absolutely make the change. But if you're making the change because someone maybe a better player out at the back than someone else, then maybe that goalkeeper should be in the first place. I don't know the reasons for that there. All I'm suggesting, again, it's getting back to feeling as if that
but you've done it yourself, haven't you? You in a playoff final.
Yeah, but that was a different.
One of the guys was a better penalty saver.
Absolutely, I did that there. That's absolutely right. But I did this here for one reason. I had a goalkeeper who was very agile but quite small, and the other goalkeeper was 6'7",
yeah.
And all he had to do, he had to fill the goal. And he looked, and I must admit, if you've been playing for 120 minutes against a smaller goalkeeper and suddenly see this giant in goal, he might actually save a penalty. That's all he has to do. Try and save a penalty.
It's an interesting.
I wasn't asking him to play out at the back.
No,
he just had to save a penalty.
But what Arteta was doing, and I disagreed with it at the time, I think he was trying to think through a situation that probably wasn't there, because there's been a situation under The Sorcerer and the Apprentice where you watched Pep Guardiola decide instantaneously that Joe Hart wasn't for him, even though Joe Hart hadn't put many foot wrong the previous season, and he wanted a goalkeeper to do a certain thing. Now, there's a bravery about being very definite and saying that. The irony for Paul Ramsdale is that Raya's on loan. He's not even been signed, so he's on loan in front of him. Ramsdale had a choice. You know, he could have walked into the manager's office and said, "Am I going to be playing this season? And if I'm not, then for me, on a European Championship season coming up for the England national side, I want to be part of that. Here's my transfer request. Thank you very much." And maybe he had to waive some loyalty bonuses, but he didn't. Yeah. So I don't know whether obviously the media.
You don't need to play for your club to get in the England squad, do you?
No.
Again, I'll get back to the point. Guardiola thought that Joe Hart was incapable of playing out at the back in the manner in which he wanted to do. Therefore, he's only changed the goalkeeper. That's fine. But he hasn't gone into this other one. He doesn't change a goalkeeper every 15 minutes in a match.
And neither does Arteta.
Well, that's the whole
point.
It
was imparted wisdom that had nothing behind it.
This is exactly the point.
Guys, I'll jump in.
Exactly the point.
We're at 11:30. A lot to get through between now and 1.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.